Blast me to Kjalma's skull. It's time for the Mad Merlins Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey. Episode 70, Part 2, Gallery and Battle Report. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Mad Merlins Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey. So we're back with issue 70 today. And here we have the completed Marneus Calgar and his Victrix Honor Guard. So as you can see, I've painted these guys up majorly to the magazines method. I did do a little bit of my own work when it came to the basing details. But pretty much I did follow the magazine and they've come out quite nice. They also look quite nice alongside all my other units from the magazine. So one thing you will notice I've done differently is I've took a spare defeated Necron warrior that was on my Command Edition's Captain's frame, and I've stuck it in place of the dead Tyranid bit, as I thought this would help tie Calgar into the collection a little more. But yeah, they've all been done, varnished and detailed with my usual snow texture on top of the astrogranite. Can't wait to see how these guys work in game. It'll be quite nice to actually use Calgar. I've never actually used him in all the years I've been collecting, and this is actually the first Calgar I've painted and I thoroughly enjoyed it. He was good to paint. I left him in a few sub-assemblies to make reaching certain details a lot easier. But all in all, he is a really nice model and I'm pretty pleased with the outcome on the paint job. So, all we got to do now is have a quick look through the new rules that we have, which is Calgar and his Honor Guard. And then we can go through the armies before we head into this issue's battle report. So here we have issue 70, and all what's left inside is Calgar's rules. So we've got Calgar here at 11 power. He has a movement of 6, has a weapon skill and ballistic skill of 2+. He's strength 4, toughness 5, thanks to the Gravis armor. Has 8 wounds, attacks 6, leadership 9, and a 2+ save. And he also has a 4+ invulnerable save as well. So he has, for his war gear, he has the Gauntlets of Ultramar, which can be used as a shooting weapon and as a melee weapon. So when you're shooting, they have 24-inch range, rapid fire 2, strength 4, -1 and 2 damage. And for the combat, they have strength times 2, -3 and d3 damage each. So he has the Angels of Death rules, as we've already covered in the faction rules. He also has the Armor of Heracles, which gives him his 4+ invulnerable save and also halves the damage he takes rounding up. He has Master Tactician ability, which allows you to gain 2 additional command points if he's your warlord. So for this game, he will be. He has the Rights of Battle aura, so a friendly core unit within 6 inches of this model makes an attack. They can reroll a hit roll of 1. So that gives you, with your captain, double bubble pretty much. So you got 2 guys who can give rerolls in different areas of the battlefield. Just remember, you can't reroll a reroll. And he has the Chapter Master keyword and ability, so he is able to select a friendly core or character unit within 6 inches in your command phase until the start of your next command phase. Until each time that model makes an attack, you can reroll the hit roll. So that's pretty cool. So yeah. Next we have the Honor Guard. So 2 Victrix Honor Guard in the unit for 3 power. Movement 6, weapon skill 2+, ballistic skill 3+, strength and toughness 4, 3 wounds, attacks 4, leadership 9 and 2+ save. So they all come with frag and crack grenades, power sword and the Ultima Storm Shield. So not much difference to stats we already know, but the Ultima Storm Shield is better than the regular Storm Shield as it gives a 3+ invuln. So we've got the Honor Guard of Macragge. So when a friendly character unit with a wounds characteristic of 9 or less is within 3 inches of this model, Enemy units cannot target that character with ranged attacks. So they're a core unit as well, so they can benefit from a lot of your buff units. So Calgar and a Lieutenant and these guys will be pretty hard to shift. Good thing is you can take multiple units of 2, as I found out on the Warhammer 40k app. So I've ordered a second set of these and I'll paint them up when I do my servo turret at the end of the next delivery in issue 74. But yeah, fielding 2 units of these guys, one to protect my captain and one to protect my Calgar, will be pretty awesome, I think. Over the page, we've got a tutorial, so details how Armor of Heracles will, they got it written twice, 2 different ways here, so Heracles and Heracles. Weird. But yeah, shows you how the halving damage works. So if you would suffer 1 damage as normal, you can't halve it to less than 1. 2 damage becomes 1, 3 damage becomes 2, and 4 damage becomes 2, and so on. When it comes to his Warlord trait, he has the Adept of the Codex Warlord trait, which allows you to roll a d6 in each of your command phases. When you spend a stratagem on a 5+, you get that command point back. But you can only have 1 command point refunded per battle round by this trait, so that still gives you the chance of having at least 5 command points come back to you over the course of an entire game. So moving on to our battle, we have Precision Strike, and this is a pretty in-depth game. We've got 4 battle mats, as it's pretty much using everything we have at the moment. So the Necron player has a 20-inch deployment zone here, plus they have the objective along the center line and on the edge of their deployment zone. And the Imperium have a 10-inch deployment zone over here. So basically this is a mission where the Imperium are striking in at the Necron's base. But they've done it as a surgical assault, so the Necrons are caught off guard. Half their units rounding down, must be deployed in strategic reserve, but this is for free. And the victory condition is basically if at the start of a their command phase, the Imperium player controls Objective 1, they are victorious, otherwise it is a Necron victory. But you can't control this objective in the first battle round, so you can't deploy pretty much on top of it with your concealed positions. The Necron player is also limited. They can't use their dimensional translocation in this game, so any units such as the flayed ones or the death marks will have to be deployed or held in strategic reserve to come on from a opposite board edge. So there we have it. So let's look into the armies I'll be using. And surprise, surprise, it is a pure Ultramarine force for this battle. So let's have a look at what I've got. So here we have our 75 power Imperium detachment using a 50+ power detachment. And as you can see, it is all Space Marines. So first up, we have Marneus Calgar here. So he will be my warlord, obviously, because you wouldn't really want to choose anybody else. I also have a captain as the second in command and leader of the 3rd company here. I have 2 lieutenants, which count as 1 HQ slot. So my Phobos lieutenant, who will be deploying with my Vanguard squads, and my regular power armoured lieutenant, who will be deploying alongside the assault intercessors there. Speaking of assault intercessors, I have 2 squads, one of 10 assault intercessors and one of 5. I decided to build up and paint 5 extra assault intercessors as I was getting a little tired of having to mix my squads, especially as I detailed them all individually. So now squad 5 is maximum strength of 10 men, and yeah, pretty cool. And then we got squad, I believe there's a squad 3, no, squad 2 on the hip guard there. I will eventually probably build an extra 5 to go with them, so I can field 2 squads of 10 at a later date. So rounding off my troops, I have 10 infiltrators there as well, ready to do some battle with the Necrons at the front lines. Then for my fast attacks, I've got the suppressors and outriders. And finally then, for my heavy support, I've got the suppressors here. Eliminators, sorry, not suppressors, that's the suppressors. Got my eliminators, so they're snipers there. And rounding out the army then is the 2 Victrix Guard, which are elite units, or a elite unit. So yeah, I'll be deploying pretty much everything as far forward as possible when it comes to the battle. I want to make sure I can get my forces to the Necron objective and try and wipe out as much of the opposing force as I can. I am going to have to, of course, duck and cover between terrain to help deny enemy line of sight. I will, of course, have a few units that will be deep striking, namely the Lieutenant and the suppressors there. I probably will conceal the Phobos guys, but this time I'm going to put them in a position where they won't get shot off the board first turn. I may even combat squad those guys, just so I got some extra units to spread around, and I'll put the Phobos Librarian backing them up as well. Outriders will be my Vanguard strength pretty much, as they'll be zooming up the battlefield. Eliminators will try and put themselves in a position they can use concealed positions, so I'll try and put them into a building where they can get line of sight on Necrons and pin them down. But yeah, just hope to get my assault intercessors up the board and not shot to pieces. So there we have the Imperium detachment. Now let's have a look at the Necrons. So here we have my 75 power Necron army using a 50 plus power detachment. So as my Warlord, I've got the Overlord, and his Warlord trait is Enduring Will, which allows him to take less damage. I've also got a Royal Warden, Plasmancer, Chronomancer. Both have been upgraded, one with the Photonic Transubjector to make him a little bit more durable, although he already has a 4+ invuln save. And then the Plasmancer has the Quantum Orb, so hopefully I can launch that into a cluster of Space Marines and zap them all. For my free troops, I have 10 with Gore's Flare, 10 with Gore's Reaper, and I got my 10 Immortals here. I've also took the Death Marks. I'm going to try and push them into a position where they can snipe from long range early game. I have the Reanimator to try and keep my guys alive. I've got the Wraiths, the Scorpec Destroyers and Plasma Sight, and the Triarch Stalker, and I also have the Scorpec Lord that I totally glazed over him on the list. So yeah, he is going to be part of my reserve forces, along with the Scorpecs and the Wraiths, and possibly the Triarch Stalker, depending on the total amount of units I got to put in reserve. But main strategy is try and keep that objective in our control, put as many bodies on it as possible. A lot will depend on how I set the terrain up for the game. I got a lot of space and we don't have a lot of terrain in the collection. But as it's a big game, I'll be using all the crates and barrels, etc., just to put as much terrain as possible between each of the two armies. So yeah, there we have it. Like I said, main tactic for this army is to bolster up on that objective and try and stop anything that comes near it. So before we go into the game, let's have a quick look at what's in the next issue of Imperium. So issues 71 and 72 are parts 1 and 2 of the Triarch Praetorians / Lich Guard. So they are building them up as Lich Guard with war size. The instructions do say you can, if you want, equip them with the sword and board, but the paint guide doesn't give you any hints and tips on how to paint the shields, sadly. So I've already got 5 of these guys built and painted as the Lich Guard of War Scythes, so I can get using them straight away. Although I won't be using them in 71, as I film the battle reports, I film them issue by issue, so I only have half a frame in 71. But 72, I'll be fielding these guys, and 73 onwards, there might even be the Shield and Sword guys turning up as well, as I have an extra 2 copies of these issues to build up at a later date. So I'll probably do that when I get around to the Locust Heavy Destroyer. So that is what's happening in the next issue, and I will go and set up the game, and I will see you on the battlefield. So here we are, ready for the big battle of the issue. So this is issue 70's battle, the Surgical Assault. And as you can see, we've got all 4 mats. I've set the terrain up in a fairly spread out sort of fashion, given the Necrons quite a bit, as it's meant to be an assault on the Necrons' main complex. So the single objective is underneath the power bank on those pipes, which is 20 inches from the edge. And we have the Necron Immortals there guarding it with their overlord, the Triax Stalker Reanimator. Then on the building over there, we've got the Death Marks. Down here, we've got the 10 warriors with Gor's Flares, plus the Chronomancer, which leaves the Reaper Warriors, the Royal Warden, Canoptic Plasmacyte, Canoptic Wraiths, Scorpic Lord, Scorpic Destroyers, and Plasmancer as my reinforcements. So, for the Space Marines, the only things to put into reserve are the Suppressors and the Phobos Lieutenant with their jump packs. We have forward deployed, we've got down here 5 of the infiltrators, which were combat squadded, so this is just the 5 infiltrators. Then over there by that building, 9 inches from the enemy deployment zone, we have the other 5, which has the sergeant and the medic. Next to them is the librarian. He has psychic powers 1 and 5 from the obscuration discipline plus smite. Finally, in our building over there, we have our last concealed unit, which is the Eliminators. Then finally, on our deployment zone, we have Lieutenant, 10 Assault Intercessors and Captain, 3 Outriders, 5 Assault Intercessors, Victrix Guard, and Calgar. So, off screen, I rolled for first turn, and the Space Marines won it with a 6. So they are deciding to go first. They want to try and get up the board before they are shot too much. So, before we get into anything, of course, it's time for some dramatic reading. Precision Strike. With the war for Kjalma's skull turning steadily against them, the Ultramarines commanders have turned once more to their chapter master for inspiration. Drawing together a plan from the teachings of the Codex Astartes and the battle record of Manaeus Calgar, Ultramarines Command has devised a plan to launch a surgical strike deep behind enemy lines to draw Necron forces away from the front lines. On the defensive. The Necrons, having succeeded in stalling the Imperium's advance, now find Space Marine attackers striking deep behind their lines from drop pods and teleportariums, with the majority of their forces deployed towards the front lines, or engaged in defending the tomb. They find themselves vulnerable. Taking the initiative. It is not the way of the Space Marine to fight a long grinding campaign of trench warfare and attrition. An Adeptus Astartes chapter is designed to strike hard and fast, So it is that the Ultramarines have ordered this series of daring strikes in order to succeed. The attackers must seize ground and draw the Necrons out. So there we have it. So the only objective we have in this mission is the overrun. If at the end of the command phase, by battle round 5, the Ultramarines are in control of the one and only objective, they are victorious. Otherwise, it is a Necron's victory. So, here we go then. With Imperium, turn 1. So our command protocol for our first turn is Protocol of the Eternal Guardian, and I'm going to go with the first directive. So each time an attack is made against this unit, if it did not move, advance, or fall back, then they get light cover. So this will benefit a lot of our units in the early stages of this war. Okay, end of the Imperium movement phase, and pretty much everything has advanced. There won't be much in the way of shooting. The only thing that will be shooting will be the Eliminators. And I will be doing a smite from the Librarian in the Psychic phase. So everyone rolled pretty well for their advanced rolls, except for Calgar, the Victrix Guard, and the Captain, who all rolled less than a 2. But the Ultramarines are advancing well, and the Necrons are going to be hard-pressed to try and win this war. So, on to the Psychic phase, and then the Shooting phase. So, with the end of the Imperium's first turn, as there were no charges, the Eliminators have killed a single death mark, and the Librarian, in the combination of 2 psychic powers, has put 4 mortal wounds onto the Triarch Stalker. So we're all doing fairly well for our first turn. Right, moving on to Necron's turn 1. So there was no movement in the Necron phase, so I went straight into the shooting phase. And as you can see, the poor Librarian got blasted off that ruin, as he's the only closest valued target for the Immortals and the Triarch Stalker there. He did good, he did make a few saves before going down. But he did a bit of damage on the Triarch Stalker, which may be its undoing. Of course, the Triarch Stalker has healed 1 of those wounds, but still, it's a bit of damage to it. Other wounds, 2 wounds on the Lieutenant over there from the death marks, and we've lost a single infiltrator down here. So, with all that done, it's moving on to Imperium turn 2. And for our protocol for the Necrons, it's going to be Vengeful Stars. And yeah, it's going to be Directive 1, I think, the extra AP for ranged weapons. So here we go with Imperium's movement phase, turn 2. Okay, end of Imperium movement phase. Pretty much everything on this side advanced, as did the Assault Intercessors, Lieutenant and Captain over there. The Bikers and Infiltrators in the middle there just moved normally. So they are going to get the guns, hopefully on the Immortals, and avenge the poor Librarian. And over in the back corner, because the Necrons didn't fortify their positions very well, the Suppressors and Lieutenant have dropped in there, ready to gun down the death marks. So, as there's no psychic phase, we can move straight to the Imperium shooting phase. End of the second shooting phase, and another death mark has fallen, and so has 2 Immortals, from combined shooting from the Outriders and the Infiltrators there. Didn't kill as many. Oh, that's the point. I didn't shoot with the Eliminators. So executioner rounds again, so +1 to hit, hitting on 1s. 3 hits, awesome. And wounding, strength 5, tough 5, force. I will command reroll one of those into a 6. Do I get the command point back? I do. So yeah. 2 wounds with a -2, I believe. No, -1. So 2 up save down to a 3 up save. One failed. Does it reanimate? It does not. So that's another death mark down. So pretty cool round of shooting for the Space Marines. On to the charge phase. We've got the bikers who are going to go into the Immortals. End of the Imperium's charge and fight phase, and the Outriders charged in, and they managed to kill 3 of the Immortals, though 2 did get back up. But still, we are in a good position to try and eliminate the unit from that objective. But now it is time, I believe, as there's no other charges or fights to make, it is now on to the Necrons' turn 2. So end of the Necron movement phase, and I decided to bring in a couple of my reserve units. So in my home deployment zone, I brought in the Plasmancer and my warriors with Gore's Reapers. And then over here, flanking out and harassing the Space Marine rear lines, are the Canoptic Wraiths. So they're going to be in range to try and charge the assault intercessors that are at the moment trying to jump over a pipe. So it's a distraction unit anyway that will hopefully deny some of the vital forces getting towards the front line. But moving on to our Necron's shooting phase, and it's time to make good use of the Protocol of Vengeful Stars. Okay, end of Necron's shooting phase, and they haven't done the best. They killed a single suppressor with the 4 that were in range of the Gore's Reapers. And I did a mortal wound to the Lieutenant from Harbinger of Destruction from the Plasmancer. I did a single wound on these guys, which was from the Warriors. The Canoptic race did nothing. The Triarch Stalker did a single wound, but the Helix Adept ignored it on those guys, but they did take a single wound from the Atomizer beams from the Reanimator there. So it's on to Imperium, the Necron charge phase. So we have Wraiths into the Assault Intercessors. I might try the Warriors, but it's going to be a long charge. And I think I will put the Triarch Stalker also into the Bikers there. And why not the Overlord get stuck in. End of Necron turn 2, and the Overlord has swung his scythe and killed a single biker thanks to transhuman physiology. That could have been a lot worse. But as it is, he's killed a single biker and the bikers are still there. We still need to try and eliminate everything, but the charges are slightly piling up against us. So we want those assault intercessors to get into the fight ASAP. I've also got Calgar here looking for a fight. So he's going to probably go and punch up the Wraiths, help the tactical squad. Thinking old school. Help the assault intercessors down here. So, there are a few morale tests, but minimal. Everyone that will need it has lost a unit, so they can't really fail because most of the leaderships are 7 anyway, or 8. So yeah, that's that for this turn, and we're going to move on to Space Marines turn 3. Turn 2 into turn 3. The Necron Protocol is going to be Conquering Tyrant, and we'll go for the extra range on all our aura abilities. And so here we go with the Imperium's movement phase. End of Imperium movement phase, and everybody had their energy drink as I rolled 2 6s and a 5 for charge distances. So the lieutenant was the lowest running guy, but he still managed to keep up to the assault intercessors. They won't be able to charge in and help with the fights, but they are getting closer to the enemy, which is a good thing. Calgar and the Honor Guard have turned around and are going to focus on the Wraiths, so helping out the assault intercessors there. Phobos guys here have moved up on top of the crate and are going to shoot at the warriors over there. And that's going to be about it. Oh, and the lieutenant and the suppressors have moved to get a little bit closer range on the warriors there. So, moving on to the Imperium shooting phase. Okay, ending on the Imperium's shooting phase, and we've killed 2 warriors over there, thanks to combination of the infiltrators and suppressors firing at them. Killed 1 warrior here, thanks to these guys. A Wraith died, thanks to bolt pistols. And that was pretty much it. The death marks have still managed to evade the eliminator shots. So they are still posing a threat. They probably might kill that lieutenant as he's only got 2 wounds, 1 wound left. But on to the charge phase, and the Calgar's about to get his fists bloodied. Or ectoplasmed, whatever the wraiths bleed. Here we go, Imperium's charge phase. End of Imperium's fight phase, and it's a bit of a stalemate. Calgar and his Honor Guard helped to kill 1 Wraith. The assault intercessors have also helped to do damage to the other. And pretty much everywhere else was stalemated, either from bad rolling or good rolling in the case of saves. Yeah. The lieutenant over there is sadly on his last wound, even though he managed to, even with a command reroll on his failed save, he still failed. 2 command points are spent on another chapter again for the assault intercessor squad. Got 1 command point back, and they didn't manage to do any damage out of that, so that's kind of wasted. But anyway, on to the Necron's turn, and we're going to be bringing in the remainder of our reserves, I think. Necron's turn 3. Okay, end of the Necron movement phase, and yeah, everything has come on. I brought everything in over here, ready to make some charges in the next turn. So, time now then to do some shooting with the Necrons. I've got the death marks there who are going to try and possibly take out that lieutenant that's wounded. And yeah, there's going to be a few more fights here there. So let's have a go with Necron's shooting phase. End of the Necron shooting phase, and the death marks have eliminated the lieutenant with a mortal wound on their dice roll. So the single wound that they get through was a 6. So yeah, mortal wound to him, and he also failed his armor save to add insult to injury. I forgot also at the end of the movement phase to do Harbinger of Destruction, which did 2 mortal wounds to the lieutenant in Phobos, which killed him. So yeah, both lieutenants are dead. The Royal Warden did try to shoot the assault intercessors, but they managed to block him. Warriors here killed and wounded an infiltrator, and over there the reanimator got a single wound, which was ignored thanks to the Helix Adept. So shooting hasn't gone too well. Oh, that's the point I forgot. He would have healed a wound. He would have healed a wound thanks to Living Metal. So turn 4 is going to be... Ouch, yeah. I don't think the Imperium's going to win. Well, no, yeah, because we need... Well, yeah, if we can get the Necrons down enough by turn 5, we should still be able to have a chance of winning. So the Assault Intercessors coming in, hopefully for turn 4 to do some damage to those Immortals. Things could go the Imperium's way, but as it is for the moment, on to the Necrons fight phase. And we are at the end of the Necron turn 3, and with it, the Imperium are still doing pretty well. The Overlord did manage to kill a Outrider, leaving only a single one there. And the final Wraith did die, but it wasn't the Victrix Guard, it was Calgar who managed to finish him off. Other than that, that's pretty much all what happened. I did lose 2 Immortals, but they got back up, so technically didn't lose them. And I lost the Wounded Suppressor over there, thanks to mortal wounds from the Plasmancer. So, yeah. That's it, and moving on to Imperium turn 4, and we really need to try and get that objective under control. So, here we go then. It's now turn 4. So, the Space Marine side are now going up to 9 command points for the start of the turn. The Necrons protocol is now the Hungry Void, and we'll go with the extra armor penetration on 6s, I think. Right, so here we go then with Imperium's movement phase for turn 4. End of the Imperium's movement phase, and the only major movement was the Assault Intercessors and the Captain moving up. The last remaining Outrider fell back to free up the Necron Immortals and Triarch Stalker for a good round of shooting before combat. Then the Assault Intercessors here moved up, Calgar and the Victrix Guard moved up, and Calgar should be in range to get some shooting done. I probably should have advanced the Victrix Guard because they don't really have much in the way of shooting. They got an extra 3 inches, which I'll move in a sec, which puts them just roughly in line with Calgar. So yeah, moving on to the Imperium shooting phase. End of the Imperium shooting phase, and we've put a few wounds back onto the Triarch Stalker, thanks to a crack grenade from the Assault Intercessors over there, Plasma Pistol from the Captain, which is supercharged, and the Plasma Pistol from this guy here. Everything that had bolters, so Calgar and the Infiltrators, shot at the Warriors and only managed to kill a single one. The Biker was successful in killing a single Immortal. Sadly, the Assault Intercessors, their heavy bolt pistols, only managed to kill 2, but they both reanimated. So there's still 6 there, ready to receive a charge. So it's going to be a bit of a messy combat because we've got the Immortals there to fight and the Overlord there as well. So here we go with the Imperium's charge phase. End of the Imperium's fight phase for turn 4, and despite best efforts, the Overlord has both been destroyed and revived. So I dropped the command point for the resurrection protocols, and he came back with 3 wounds remaining, which is the maximum he could have got. So he's still there posing a threat, and it's the Necron's turn, so he's about to crack his resurrection orb to try and revive a few of those Immortals. So with that, the last thing to say before we start Necron turn 4 is the Imperium really do need to finish off those Immortals and pile in towards that objective. Otherwise, there's no point playing turn 5, as they can't control the objective in a 6th command phase if there isn't one. So here we go then with Necron's turn 4, which is going to be the deciding turn. So, end of Necron movement phase for turn 4. The Tronic Stalker's turned around and is moving towards the Assault Intercessors down here, trying to stop any additional reinforcements coming in to that objective. 2 Immortals came back with the Resurrection Orb, and the Tronic Stalker and the Overlord both recovered a wound thanks to Living Metal. And the Scorpex and the Royal Warden all moved up towards the brutal melee that's happening. So the only thing left to do for the movement phase was to roll 3d6 for the Plasmancer. And there is a 4, 5, and a 6. So those mortal wounds all go to that poor, lonely suppressor over there. So that's him dead. Because it is 24 inches, so I wonder if I could reach somebody else. Doesn't it? It says the closest within 24 and visible. So for each 4+. So yeah, it would be just that one unit. So that's him dead, freeing up those warriors for shooting. So anyway, on to the Necron shooting phase. So, end of Necron shooting phase. And the Tronic Stalker took out 2 of the Assault Intercessors there. Sergeant luckily managed to scrape past with his life. The 3 remaining infiltrators up here were shot off from a combination of the warriors on the rooftop and the Reanimator there. His atomizer beams blasted the last guy away. The Overlord and the Royal Warden and the Scorpec Lord put their guns into the infiltrators on the top there, killing one, wounding another. Snipers tried to kill that last biker, but didn't manage to get any of the most valid mortal wounds, and the only wound he did take, he managed to save. So now on to charge phase for the Necrons. We're going to try and get those Scorpex in, although it's going to be a long charge. And the Tronic Stalker might go and murder that last Assault Intercessor. So here we go. Do you want the good news or the bad news? Well, the bad news is it's a Necron victory. The good news is it's a Necron victory. So, yeah, the Scorpex managed to make a 7-inch charge, and thanks to infusing madness from the plasma site before they did so, they managed to wipe out all the remaining Assault Intercessors before any other fights were made. I probably should have dropped Transhuman Physiology, but of the amount of rolls they made that were 4+ anyway, it wouldn't have saved me a lot. So yeah, it's not even the end of the complete assault phase. We've still got the Tronic Stalker fight to do. So we are going to end the battle there. So yeah, one of the biggest fights we've done on Imperium yet. And the Necrons have proven victorious. So, to recap, really good mission. It really does put into perspective how much stuff the Necrons has compared to the Imperium, really. Especially if you do like I did and take lots of Space Marine Force, it does eat up your points pretty quickly. The 10 infiltrators are 12 points. The 10 assault intercessors are 10 points. So yeah, it does eat up a lot of points. So probably could have done better if I had a mixed bag, but as it was, I did take a little bit extra than the collection does give us. If I hadn't took the extra Immortals, that unit probably would have been wiped out pretty early on. If I didn't take the extra 5 Assault Intercessors, I would have had to find 5 points to fill in a unit. Probably would have gone Seraphim, or possibly try and find an extra 1 point from somewhere and took the Aggressors. Really glad I didn't take the Aggressors. They would have been slow. They wouldn't have gotten into many fights, I wouldn't have thought, unless they stayed back and dealt with the Wraiths. But all in all, I think that was a really good game. I think he did a good job setting up the terrain, making it fairly equal. And yeah, things could have been different, I think, if the Lieutenant was still alive. He's rerolls to wound would have been really invaluable for the fights, because I was wounding on 5s with the Intercessors, so not the best. But coming into the Combat Doctrine in the last turn did give me some extra AP with my chain swords, which is good, so I was doing a bit more ripping through the armor. But there we have it. It is another Necron victory. That is quite a few in a row now. Yeah, let me know in the comment sections what you guys thought of that battle. What would you have done differently? What have I done wrong, if anything? I'm still trying to get my head around all the rules and stuff for everything. I miss the days when there was only one rule for terrain. Now it's like 5 different rules for each individual terrain piece. Like the pipes have heavy cover, light cover, exposed positions, unstable positions, and yeah, back in 5th and 6th edition, cover was cover. It gave you either I think it used to be a 4+ for light cover, no, 5+ for light cover, and a 4+ for heavy cover. That was it. That was all the cover you got. You got better cover saves in stuff like fortifications and bunkers and trench lines. So you had a 3+ cover save. But man, I miss those days when cover was just basic cover and no really complex rules like they have. I mean, even the ruins now have breachable, which is something that was always done anyway. Ruins are always ramshackle buildings that are free to move through. But anyway, like I said, I do miss the older systems, older edition rules, and I really hope that they take a step back towards that with 10th edition. I think I'm going to do a whole different video concerning 10th edition and my hopes for it. But I've rambled on enough at the end of this video, so I'm going to say thank you all for watching. Of course, if you think I deserve it, please give this video a like and drop a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And either way, I will see you next time for more mad content. Goodbye.